Good morning, at least in Central Time Zone. Good afternoon if you're in the East Coast, like two of us are. Welcome to the DLLS Stars podcast on Tuesday, July 1st. That means it's NHL Free Agency Day. It also means it's Canada Day.
Canada Day.
Let's not get into the weird politics going on that talks about whether or not we are allowed to be friends with. We are friends with Canada, darn it.
Yes.
So, Owen Newkirk, Sam Nessler, at least on my screen, is in the middle.
Me too.
That's good. And then Sean is over on the other side. Sean Shapiro joining us. We actually don't know where Luds is. What does that mean? We don't know. So maybe Luddy will join us today. Maybe he won't.
He's in the woods.
Who can? Yeah, maybe he got lost in the woods. I really, really hope he's okay because, yeah, if we were teasing him for not being here and then there was something awful, I don't even throw it in the ether. We'd have egg on our face. We feel awful. So anyway, the three of us are here. So let's get it started. Elijah Smith is our producer. We are in the early days of our run of StreamYard remote broadcasts. So our DLS Stars show will look a lot like this for a while, the little Brady Bunch. Although I liked what we did at the draft where we had the little stacks.
That was cool.
I did
You
like
guys
the
on
stacks.
top of
that
each
was
other?
fun.
It was kind of fun, right?
Stacks were fun.
Yeah. So kudos to all of our production team, John and Katya as well, for coming up with some cool different looks. All right, guys. Obviously, free agency is going to dominate the day. And so far, all the activity that's happened as we got to right now is officially free agency is opening. Yeah, thank you for the fanfare. The Stars don't appear to be poised to do a whole lot because they don't have a lot. So look at Ardell already throwing the Costanza in there for use. There you go, Sam. He's ready early. I love it.
Thanks, guys.
The thing that Jim Nils said the other day, which I think is very important to remind people, is that the Mikko Rantanen acquisition is their biggest move in free agency in the sense that they signed him to a big 8-year, $12 million contract extension, which we'll get into all the other ones, including the Mitch Marner one, which was for the same money, which is kind of interesting. But the Stars don't have a lot of space. Now, Puckpedia, which is the public cap space website that we all use, currently has the Stars listed at 980,000 in cap space. That's with, I know,
Rich.
That's with 10 forwards on the roster and 8 defensemen, including Alexander Petrovic, Matt Dumba, Ilya Lyubushkin, Lundqvist, Harley, Lindell, Bischel, Heiskanen. So technically, one of those guys could be off the roster, or you could clear up some space. So there's room to move. But you're also allowed to have up to 10% overage during the offseason. So Dallas can do that. In fact, if you look at Puckpedia, there are teams that are over it, and we'll get into all that. But let's start with the initial question here. Oh, hang on. We just got a $50 super chat. So we're going to stop right down. Michael Moore with a
bing bang, bing bang.
There it is. Listen to that. Ritzkovian, he was 49 last year, right?
Believe so, yeah.
Losing my mind, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then a 99 cup here. All right, boys, can I donate this super chat to the Stars to help their 900,000? Okay, question. Why have the Stars not done a buyout or anything to be prepared for today? Seems very un-Jim-like. So let's start with that. Matt Dumba was not bought out yesterday, Sean, as the first buyout window closed. But as you see some other things going on around the rest of the league, and we talked about this a bit yesterday or the day before, or whatever day it was, I feel like there is a market for Matt Dumba. Case in point, Victor Arvidsson was just traded by Edmonton to the Boston Bruins. Arvidsson has 1 year left with a $4 million cap hit. That's more than Dumba's. And Boston actually got sent a 5th round pick from 2027 the other way. There was a futures, was it Tarasenko yesterday, I believe, Minnesota to Detroit?
Yep. Detroit.
I believe if they want to move Matt Dumba,
Detroit
they'll be able to do it, right?
Yeah. I think so. And here's the other thing about, like, just to answer Michael's question about Jim Nill being unprepared for today. He doesn't have to have Matt Dumba removed from the roster today to add somebody. You have the time to you could add, if Jim has a plan in his mind that he's going to add, say, a $4 million player. I'll just pick a number. That means you probably have to move Matt Dumba. You'd have to move Matt Dumba, maybe Ilya Lyubushkin. You can work that out after you get the confirmation you're going to sign that player, right? Because at a worst case scenario, I think there's obviously a lot of people that would be disappointed if Matt Dumba is still on this roster come October. But if you're not able to do anything, and this is where, like, I want to go with this, like, if you're not able to get anything, he's still serviceable, right? Like, that's the end of the line. Like, wouldn't the worst thing be, the worst thing would be to move Matt Dumba, get nothing for him, and then do nothing, and then not be able to get anything done with the roster space. Because as Sam and I were going back and forth on Twitter this morning, like, there's not a lot of space out there, right? Like, there's 12 or 13 teams that all have $14 million or more in cap space, right? So if you're the Stars and you made the move an asset and sell an asset, like, and get rid of an asset and then can't do anything with it, that's double asset wasting. At least now you potentially make your move, you potentially add somebody, and then you find a way to move Matt Dumba. I don't have any issue with that. I think that's just kind of something to remember right now.
Sam, I wanted to have you kind of go through these free agents that the Stars have.
Yep.
Okay. This is on their roster. Mikael Granlund, very much a highly coveted player right now. To Sean's point just now, a lot of teams have a lot of space. Not a lot of top-end free agents are available. Some of the moves that I've already made that we'll get into, like Mitch Marner, like Ekblad, Marchand, basically everything that Florida did. But we're talking about Granlund, Evgeny Dodonov, Colin Blackwell up front, Cody Ceci and Brendan Smith, and then Matej Blumel, who, even though he wasn't an NHL roster regular, is a Group 6 UFA. So there are some spots available.
Sorry. We should do this.
Breaking news
Colin
sounder.
Colin Blackwell has signed a 2-year deal with Dallas for $775K per.
Wow, look at that. Jim does it right when we get on the show.
There we go.
All right.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay. So why is it a big deal? We'll go right to Blackwell, Sam, to get him back, but also back for 2 years at the league minimum and keep it as flexible a roster as they can.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this with who they could realistically add with the money they have. And there's not a lot of players out there that provide more than a Colin Blackwell for that type of money, right? You're not getting a guy who's going to score 15 goals, 20 goals for the league minimum or under $1 million. So Blackwell does a lot of everything for the Stars. He's able to play on the penalty kill. He's able to, he's moved up and down the lineup a little bit. He's a speedy energy guy. He clearly has a lot left in his tank. He's not slowing down in any way. He's a guy that brings a lot of value, and for him to understand his role and want to be back here again, like a lot of guys do, to try to win a Stanley Cup, that's huge for the Stars. So to get him done, the 2 years means they get him now locked in. They don't have to worry about that spot. And as we know, they have basically 2, if not 3 forward spots they're trying to fill. So that's one of them. The question now, and the reason it's so big, is because if they do want to try to fill that with anything else, they need to pinch pennies anywhere they can. So paying Colin Blackwell, 1.25 or something like that may not seem like a huge difference, but it could make all the difference in the world for them to try to get someone else to fill in on the left side or something like that. So very serviceable player for a very, very good cap hit.
Sean, are you at all surprised that it was at the minimum because of how effective Blackwell was, both as a Stars fourth liner, but also because of when he did come in the lineup in the playoffs, he brought something. He had energy. He made an impact. I feel like, I know he's not 23, 24, but there could be a market for a Colin Blackwell out there. I'm thrilled, but I'm maybe wondering if there was more money on the table. Did he want to stay here because he liked his situation, even though he did take a minimum for 2 years?
Yeah, and the other thing to think about from Colin Blackwell's perspective is money is important. Let's not pretend that it's not. But term also matters too, right? Like, is Colin Blackwell, if he signs a 1-year deal somewhere, is he probably a $1.2 million player? Probably. That's probably his market rate for what he's done on a 1-year deal. But for him being 32 and in today's NHL, that's getting younger and younger. That second year of security, I don't want to make light of it. Having 2 years of security at that number, he's basically locked himself into an NHL job for 2 years by signing for that rate on a team that's got some big expenditures like the Stars do. The fourth line is gonna have to be built with salary cap hits like that. Yeah. So this is smart job security by Colin Blackwell to sign a deal like this. So yes, he could have taken a little bit. He could have taken a little bit more. Probably it probably would have been. It would have been with a worse team. So what's better? 2 years on a team that should be a playoff contender and a team where your family likes it there and you've got a good fit, or do you want to go take $500,000 more? And I know that's a lot of money. I'm not saying it's not, but $500,000 more to go somewhere on maybe a 1-year deal on a lesser team. It's what a player. To me, this is Colin Blackwell picking an environment over picking a dollar amount is what this is for me.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he should have a little more security in his mind of playing regularly. Like we know he was scratched a little bit in the playoffs. This is not as nearly as deep of a forward group. It's not even a filled out forward group yet. So for him to sign this deal, he knows at least for this season until, barring something crazy at the trade deadline, he's probably a regular every night and probably going to be a big role in the playoffs. So I'm sure that plays a role in his mind as well.
Let's talk through this for a minute. 11 forwards now on the NHL roster. And Sean has always made the claim that rosters are made based on contracts as much as they are on merit and performance. Yeah. As Puckpedia updates quickly, they've got the Stars at 205,000 in cap space, which is objectively funny, but they have 11 forwards, right? They need at least 12 and they have 8 defensemen. Now we know that the talk has been surrounding Matt Dumba and his $3.75 million hit for 1 more year. Do you move him? As Sean said, he's very serviceable. So even if you have to start the year, do you risk Alexander Petrovic going on waivers and getting claimed by somebody? That's to be an interesting side thought, Sean, of this year, because teams have more cap space and the cap has gone up. A lot of times you could squeeze or sneak a player through waivers around training camp time when everybody's doing that and get away with one. This year, because teams have extra space, that might be harder to do. But to get back to the Blackwell and the space of current cap space signings, Scott Wedgwood signed with Nashville, now of course with Colorado, for that extra $500,000 a year for 2 years. That was a significant extra. He said on our show, over the 2 years of the contract, that's an extra $1 million. And
yeah, it's big.
It's important, right? Because your contract, your career is finite. There's nothing wrong with going and getting the most you can. The last part I wanted to say, and then I'll let you guys take it for this. Sean, I always have seen Jim Nill make veteran acquisitions when we think there's space for the young guys to step forward. So when you talk about, do they re-sign Matej Blumel? Do you bring up Justin Ritskovian? Does Arttu Huru have a shot at winning a spot in training camp? The answer is, of course, they do have a chance, but they're going to have to blow you away, because every time we think, oh, well, he'll make room for Thomas Harley. Well, of course, Harley made room for himself eventually, but then they went out and signed veteran players, right? They always added a couple extra guys and made it harder sometimes for those younger players to get in without really pushing their way through. And I don't see that Stars suddenly going, well, we're just going to have to, settle's the wrong word, but allow the young guys to have that spot. They're going to still have to earn it. And I still think there's more signings to be had.
Yeah. And the other thing about all of this, sorry, Sam, the other thing that's a little bit about all of this and the timing and everything is, I go back to our earlier statement. You can find the space to move these guys later. Like you also talk, like Owen, you talked about, hey, we've got all of these teams that are gonna have a lot of cap space. There's a lot of teams with a lot of cap space right now, right? Like if you're there's a lot of mistakes going to be made today. One of my favorite lines comes from former Stars everything Les Jackson, because it'd be hard for me to find a role Les Jackson didn't hold in the organization. But one of Les's best lines to me about free agency every year was, every year we find ways to make a lot of mistakes and give all these money to guys and say we'll never do it again, only to do it again 365 days later. So there's a lot of guys that are going to get way more money than they're worth today. There's going to be a lot of teams that are going to take themselves from, oh my God, look at all this cap space, to cap hell by the end of today. I mean, just look at the way some of we got one.
We have breaking news.
The Dallas Stars have officially named Glenn Gulletson as their new head coach.
There you
As
go.
we're on
folks.
the show, this couldn't go any better.
Oh.
There it is.
And now,
official now.
And now we have to do an ad break. More about Glenn Gulletson next here on the DLS Star Show. Sean, get Empire Today ready, because it was supposed to be Luds. We'll do that
I'll get Empire
next
Today right now.
here on DLLS.
All right, are we doing Empire Today first?
Start the clock.
Hit it.
Yeah, just like your favorite team needs a home ice advantage or a head coach, your team needs a home floor advantage, and Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today is flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. We've all been to those big box stores. You wander endless aisles, then somehow you're hauling all these materials home, looking for an installer and coordinate everything yourself. Those big box stores might have a flooring department, but company with flooring may have been doing sinks yesterday and could be stocking light bulbs tomorrow. Apparently, stocking light bulbs is a pretty big job. So Empire Today lives and breathes flooring, and they will be with you every step of the way. It's a different ballgame. Their flooring experts bring the showroom right to your home. You pick the right flooring and the right colors for your space. See how it looks with your furniture and in your house. And you get the precise measurements taken of all questions answered, so there are no surprises. You really don't want any surprises, just like you don't want a team announcing a head coach 16 minutes into free agency day, which is by far the greatest equivalent of a Friday afternoon news dump I've ever seen. So bravo. So, to schedule a free in-home estimate today, because some things are just better at home, DLS listeners can receive a $350 discount using the code DLLS. Yes, you heard right. A $350 discount with code DLLS. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday/DLLS for full details.
All right, that means it's my turn while Sean continues to giggle about the news dump. It's game time. What about game time? Well, if you haven't been watching Al Hilal upset Manchester City at the FIFA Club World Cup, you're missing out. What do I mean by that? Well, you can get tickets to these great knockout games because we're getting closer to the end of the tournament. Quarterfinals are almost set. There are 4 more games to decide the last 2 quarterfinalists. Go to gametime.co, or just even better, download their app, because you can get 10% off exclusive zone deals for FIFA Club World Cup matches, and I would imagine in preparation of next summer's World Cup in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. So what do? Download the Game Time app. That's one. Create an account. Use the code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account. Redeem the code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Hey, Sam, what time is it?
Game time.
All right.
Time to hire a coach.
Okay, so 2 things to be said. One, it's going to be a little weird on the show today because we've got 3 of us trying to all monitor breaking news while also keeping a conversation going. So if it seems like you're talking to your partner, aka in this case, Sean is on TikTok and not really listening to you, don't be surprised. Just yell at him and say, "Hey, Sean," and get his attention back.
I'm definitely here, but I also don't have TikTok, so that's...
I know, I'm just making an analogy. Okay, so let's start with Glenn Gulletson. I wish I had found the source of it. I got a tweet, or I saw a tweet the other day on my feed that suggested that Gulletson's contract was up on June 30th. And so it made me wonder if the reason why, even though we did the emergency pod on Sunday, that we had to wait until today was simply procedural because of contractual reasons. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering. Yeah, because I was wondering. Yeah, no, I was just wondering. The main thing I was wondering was if it was so sure, like Sean said, if you know, I think you said it on the Breaking Pod, if you know he's your guy, go get your guy, right? So that to me is the only logical reason I could imagine that they were still dealing with this. And then once development camp and everything started, I was like, all right, they're clearly not going to wait until this is all over and settled so they can have these announcements and press conferences. They're just going to do it when we're on July 1st show and talking about 1,000 other things. But yeah, I think that's probably a big part of it.
According to the press release the team just sent out, Glenn Gulutzan will be formally and officially introduced at a press conference tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central Time at American Airlines Center. Obviously, none of us will be there, so that's less unfortunate. I actually think that Elijah might try to go over there. So I, as our producer's listening right now, Elijah, 11 a.m. tomorrow, press conference room at the AAC. I'll send you a text reminder later. I'm just skimming through this, guys, because in addition to the announcement of Gulutzan, it says Elaine Nasruddin, assistant coach, Jeff Reese, goaltender coach, Patrick Dolan, head video coach, and Chris Demchuk, assistant video coach, will return to the team and join Gulutzan's coaching staff. So that means that they're still there. And the big question besides that is who joins, because we haven't heard anything about other assistants, Neil Graham. Do you guys think it's a possibility that Neil Graham just stays as the Texas Stars head coach next year after all the rumblings about his name?
I have a hard time believing that. Nothing shocks me anymore, but I've because there's of the interest that we've heard from other teams as well. And so I think there's especially with Dallas having 2 assistant openings in theory right now, and other teams have talked to the Stars about potentially interviewing Neil for an assistant job. I just think there's too many openings out there for Neil to remain the coach in Texas. If he does, that will mean one of two things. It'll mean two things. It will mean the Stars. It will mean that the Stars overvalued him. Honestly, if he's not in an NHL bench in the fall, that will mean all of the smoke and everything about him interviewing for a head coach job wasn't merited, because this guy, if he was going to be up for the head coaching job of the Dallas Stars, and he was your other final, right? Because we know that's how they interviewed and everything like that. There's no way he's not an assistant coach somewhere else. And if he's not, it's a real question of should he really have been interviewing for a head coaching job with the Dallas Stars at this point, if he's not getting that assistant job you have open, or the assistant job open in, I believe there's 6 or 7 other assistant jobs open right now in the NHL across the board that he could have been having.
Let me ask you this. Start with Sam. If you're Glenn Gulutzan, what's appealing to you about the Dallas Stars job, aside from being a head coach again in the NHL? But when you look at this roster, and of course, aside from the fact that he's lived in Texas before as the Texas Stars head coach and the Dallas Stars head coach, but if you actually look at this team, their circumstances, their roster, what's appealing to you as a head coach?
Yeah, obviously, like you said, it's a very talented team that's trying to win a Stanley Cup. That's the number one thing. That's and I don't think there's any coach that wants to come in and not have that. But to me, it reminds me a little bit of when Lutz talks about Hitch and how that year they won the Cup, Hitch was kind of in the background a little bit because they had so many leaders, so many veterans. They had such a good room that sometimes they didn't even need Hitch to come in and say anything. And that's kind of what I feel. I mean, Gulutzan, he's been a head coach, but not with a ton of experience. And as we know, not with a ton of success. So this is kind of a redo for him. And to come into a team where he doesn't have to, one, be on a rebuilding team where he's going to be struggling with young guys and losing every night and all kinds of things and maybe issues in the room. He's going to come into a team that has guys like Duchesne and Ben and Sagan and Ranton and leaders that are able to kind of take the reins. And that should make it an easier transition for him, right? He's able to come in, get adjusted. He knows Jamie Benn. He's familiar with the city and organization. We all know that, but he can come in, let the team kind of fill in where it's going to be. And then he can kind of guide it to where he wants them to be. And I think the biggest thing I've heard about him over the past, whatever few months that we've been talking about him as a candidate is he has learned from his mistakes of over coaching. So I expect him to come in here with a outlook of, I'm going to come in, see what our team is. He's going to have a plan. He's going to have a structure and all that kind of stuff, but see what this team is and guide them to where they can be to get them over the hump versus coming in and trying to be the heavy coach that's going to change everything with the organization. I think that's what his goal is. And I think that's probably what the organization's goal is, to kind of do that.
Sorry, I had to mute. So I was just trying to stifle a sneeze there in case you were wondering why I dove off. Thank you. I very appreciate that. All right, Sean, what we don't know about Gulutzan is how he's going to round out his staff. Thank you, Elijah. Texted me that as well. So Paul Gerard, the late great Paul Gerard, who passed away a few years ago, was Gully's number 2. He was his defensive coach, and they were together with Texas. I believe they were in Vegas together. I'd have to double check on that. They went to Dallas together. He was, I believe, was with Calgary together. He doesn't have his running buddy from, a long time earlier. So I'm curious, obviously, as a head coach, and you've heard him speak at coaching conferences and stuff, that you make a lot of network connections. It's just interesting because we've been asked by diehards, some of the ones I didn't get to yesterday that Sam collected from the Discord channel was, does he have anybody he's intending to bring with him? And I think the answer is we just don't know. And so that'll be interesting to see if he's agreeable to a guy like Neil Graham, or if he has other people in mind, and how you'll round out a staff, especially with Elaine Nasruddin staying. And that gives them a pretty solid base on their penalty kill and defense, which has been, their PK was one of the best in the league last year. But it will be interesting for how he decides to round out his coaching staff roster.
Yeah, I would guess, if I had to prognosticate, I would guess Neil Graham would be one of the assistants, and he's probably your power play guy running things. And then obviously it'll be a great question to ask Glenn tomorrow how he looks at this, but you kind of look at his history, and you have to wonder a name I'll just throw out there that's not, I don't know if there's anything attached to this, so just be clear, but it's you look at Glenn's history. His assistant in Calgary was, he had Dave Cameron as an assistant with him in Calgary, and Dave Cameron is a former NHL head coach for a year with the Ottawa Senators. He has been a very successful head coach with the Ottawa 67s the past 3 years. Just from, those are the types of, I don't know, I am speaking out of my
completely spitballing
arse
here.
Yes. Yeah. I'm speaking out of my arse on this one on purpose, but it's, but those are the type of things you look at, and maybe there's someone Glenn's never worked with before that he's really impressed with, and he wants to bring on his staff, because I would imagine that third assistant is going to be a little bit in that Misha Donskov type role, where it's someone who is going to be the day-to-day communicator, might be on the bench, might be the eye in the sky, depending on how they want to run things. And so I would imagine it'll be something like that, and then we kind of assume Neil Graham is probably the power play, the assistant running the power play in the forwards. Obviously not confirmed. We don't know that for sure. This is all of us just speculating and trying to read the tea leaves, and be interested to see what they say tomorrow. Once speaking about this.
Sam, would you like to give the viewers the breaking news on Matej Blumel?
Yes, I was going to give you a little more mild, because it's not really as big as that head coach of the Stars.
Yeah, probably lower fanfare.
Yeah. Matej Blumel has signed with the Boston Bruins, so that is obviously one of the ones we were keeping an eye on for the Stars. I think that may be one that looks good for the Bruins and not as good for the Stars in a minute. I just think he's ready to break out and become an NHL player, but I haven't seen anything with the contract or anything yet. I'm curious to see what he gets. I would imagine he gets more than Dallas was probably willing to give him, though. So Matej Blumel is no longer on the list for the Stars. He's with the Boston Bruins.
Let's also say something on this, because I'm already seeing people.
I know where you're going with this.
People are saying, why wouldn't the Stars bring him back? Why wouldn't they do this? Why wouldn't the Stars want him? Free agency is a two-way street, people. You have Matej Blumel is. Players make their own choice on where they go. Let me give you a good example of a player who 2017-18, the Stars give Sheldon Dries his only pro opportunity. Sheldon Dries signs an AHL deal with the Texas Stars, has a really nice year with them. They go all the way to the Calder Cup final. Stars had the ELC in front of them right away. They were ready to give it to him. Sheldon Dries looked at the Stars' depth chart, and it wasn't about money, but he looked at the depth chart. He looked where things were center-wise, and that's why he sided with the Colorado Avalanche and said it was the player's choice. And this, I think, and I don't know where, and I don't know, and obviously I haven't spoken to Matej Blumel about this one way or the other, but you have to remember, there are two, it's not just the organization being like, oh, well, we'll give the money to the guy to do this. The Stars wanted to bring Matej Blumel. I know that as of 2 weeks ago, they looked at him as someone who could be part of the solution here and part of things. So he is also, and also to answer to Harry's question already, I mean, because I see Sheldon Dries we're not talking RFAs and UFAs right now. I see just in the chat right now, Blumel was a UFA Group 6. He was not an RFA.
Which means he got to dictate where he was going.
Yep. Sheldon Dries was similar. Yeah, and Sheldon Dries was also a AHL contract player, not an NHL contract player. He was a guy who was able to sign wherever he wants. When the players have the freedom, I'm all for it. Players should go where they think is best for them and do it. So,
yeah, and I will say, obviously, this is different, new coach, and everything like that, but Blumel was very frustrated. He felt he earned more NHL time, and it was just an organization, like we just mentioned with Blackwell, that was incredibly deep. Most organizations, he's probably up there at least getting 20, 30 games in, right? So I know it's a new coach. He's got a little bit less of depth with Dallas, but for him to go to a team like Boston, where he's probably going to get a much bigger role and should be an NHL regular there, that's up to him. And as Sean said, that's his prerogative to do that. So hopefully he has some success there.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that in a moment.
Wait, real quick. No.
Fanfare?
Quick apology to Harry, who said he was. I misread the chat. I shouldn't speak, and he was talking about Strange Blumel. So I was Harry. We're all good. Sorry, I didn't. I was reading and talking at the same time. So my apologies to Harry, real quick.
Up next, let's get into all the big news around the league. We've got a lot to get to, and probably not enough time to talk about it all at length here on the DLLS Stars Free Agency Special.
If you are looking for something to do while you are watching the free agency madness and watching us talk about it, why not grab a Wendy's Frosty? Because if you love Wendy's classic Frosty flavors, we have big news for you. They're all new Frosty Swirl and Frosty Fusion flavors that you can get in either chocolate or vanilla. That's the key right there. You can get your favorite flavor, and there are plenty of options. Same creamy treat you've always loved, now with a flavor refresh. So what are the new flavors? We've got a Frosty Swirl strawberry, brownie batter, and caramel. And then we have the thoroughly blended and mixed Frosty Fusions, Oreo brownie, caramel crunch, and Pop-Tarts strawberry, as John Anderson loves. Not to mention, you can still get the regular chocolate, regular vanilla. You can try them all. I suggest you just grab all of them, lay them across your desk, throw the TV on all day on July 1st, and really have a good day. Anyway, whatever flavor you're craving, odds are we've got a Frosty for it. So clock in for a sweet treat anytime, including midnight or later, with Wendy's all new Frosty flavors. A refresh on a classic, gotta be Wendy's. At participating U.S. Wendy's, hours may vary by location.
Thank you, Sam. Let's talk about Shady Rays. You know that moment, the one you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach, or on the roof of your car, or at that gas station you stopped at 3 states away. Well, we've all been there. But then you remember, or maybe you're just finding for the first time, Shady Rays, and it changed the game because these sunglasses are made for real life, seriously good looking, polarized, durable, and not stupidly expensive. Here's the wild part. If you lose them or break them, even on the first day you own them, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. So now you can actually wear your sunglasses without fear on hikes, concerts, on the boat, wherever. Shady Rays has eyewear that has your back. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com. Use the code DLLS35, DLLS35 for 35% off polarized sunglasses. All right. We're going to get into all the scuttlebutt around the NHL. And Sean, you saw what I just saw. Some updated news around Brock Besser, one of the big names of the free agent forwards, and what may be a surprise to people, according to Elliot Friedman. Is
Sorry,
Sean
I muted
completely
myself.
frozen?
Yeah, no, I had muted myself. I had muted myself and was about to speak and then realized it before I spoke. Besser goes back to a 7-year deal, $7.25 million. Important to note because the deal was signed after free agency opened, he was no longer eligible for an 8-year deal. So I can imagine I would be interested to see what might have been possible if they had been able to do the 8 years and maybe that cap hit comes down a little bit, maybe a little bit. So, but yeah, it was a lot of expectation he was going to go to market and he was going to end up somewhere else, and bit of a stunner from someone deciding to go back. So that's big news of someone going back, and it's making for not a lot of player movement today, huh?
Yeah, I mean, well, and that's where we go with the Mikael Granlund talk, right? Because Mikael, we'll rattle off all the other stuff, but Mikael Granlund, the Stars we even saw yesterday, they were quote unquote circling back to talk with Granlund's representatives about trying to find a way to get him to return, because if the Stars don't, and it seems like they're not going to now, because obviously he's a free agent, they have a hole in the top 6 on their left-hand side, which we've talked about. You've got the pair of Hintz and you've got Rantanen with him. You've got Duchesne and Sagan, presumably a pair. Then you have Jason Robertson and who as your other left now that Mason Marchment isn't there. The problem with Granlund is that his rating, his value is very high, and especially as we get into all these players that have already signed, other than Nick Ehlers, he might be the second highest rated forward as free agent right now. Right?
Yeah, and just looking in general at these, I'm just looking down the list of some of the guys that have already signed. The money that is going out to people like Eklund getting the money he's getting, Granlund is going to be far more expensive to add than people thought he was. And I just don't see it happening with Dallas. The tough part for that is I think Granlund filled a couple holes for Dallas. And I've said this over and over because I think it's important for this team. He was the guy, not only the guy that had the skill and could play two-way hockey and could play on the power play, but he scored and stepped up when the moments were biggest. And that cannot be understated with a team like Dallas, who consistently has struggled to score goals when the moment is biggest. And him scoring hat tricks in the playoffs and game-winning goals in Four Nations and international play, that's a guy you want on your team, because that's the kind of guy who, when your offense isn't going in a game 5 and you're down 3-0, can maybe put a puck in and help your team out. So that's going to be a tough hole to fill in multiple ways. I think the only way, and that Stars fans are hoping, is that the Finnish Mafia somehow gets him to accept a deal that's criminal against what he's probably being offered around the league. And I just don't see that happening. So the tough part here is it's not a simple, let's go out and get this guy, because as we just said, the Stars don't have enough money to even sign a player to a minimum contract. So you can't even look and start shopping out things until we know what they can move to open up a little bit of space.
Well, and as I said, Jim knows what he'll be able to move out, right? Like there's got to be an internal ledger of, realistically what you'll be able to do if you need to get rid of other pieces and do some cap surgery. You have to know that stuff. That's Mark Janko's entire job. Mark Janko lives in these hypotheticals we speak about all day. It's Jank's job to live and breathe those 50 times before we even think about them once. So it's the other thing with Granlund, and it's the whole, like, this is his chance for his last big contract, right? Like he's going to be, with especially how the market has played out, with how other things have gone, he's never going to have a larger opportunity to get a long-term deal with some major money that is definitely probably above what he should be worth. The Stars would require him to take a discount when his true market value would probably already be a discount. So we're talking about a double kind of level here for Granlund of the type of money he could go get somewhere. And and I think it's okay to sometimes rentals are just rentals, right? And that's just the reality where Granlund and Ceci were essentially rentals that were about trying to win the Stanley Cup and this year, and it only works for one team every year.
Yeah, as we mentioned, Jim said, I think it was on Saturday after the draft when we were up in Frisco, he said as you mentioned with Rantanen, Rantanen was the big move of the year, but they also had the Harley, Lindell, Ottinger, Wyatt Johnston. Those were all of their, as Jim called it, their big swings, their big moves. And for the Stars, when they traded for Granlund and CC, sure, Jim said all the right things. These are guys we'd love to re-sign, and I'm sure they would, but I'm sure deep down they knew they were in for a world of chaos and all the things we're looking at right now when they got to the summer. But Jim said it best. He said, we are in this position right now because we have great players who deserve to get paid the money they're getting paid. So he doesn't look at it as we messed up or anything like that. He looks at it as we have Mikko Rantanen. We have Wyatt Johnston for 8 years. We have Jake Ottinger for 8 years. We have all of these players that we believe are the cornerstones of our franchise. That's what put us in this cap spot. So I think it's important to look at it as, yeah, the Stars are in a spot right now where they're going to have to do some finagling, and Mark Janko's going to earn his salary this summer, but it's not a negative thing necessarily. It's just something they have to deal with.
Guys, my younger son Dexter just texted me, and
this has scoop.
This is what, a minute or so after Sean pointed out that Corey Perry is going to sign with the LA Kings, and Dexter's text to me was, so the Kings are going to lose in the Cup final next year.
Yes,
he's 13 and he's already picked up on the trend. Isn't it weird though? Perry, the longtime Anaheim Duck, will be playing for the LA Kings. That's hilarious. Wild.
Isn't it also though? If you're the Kings, you'll take the playoff series win, right? Like it's
God, yeah.
You haven't won a playoff series since you haven't won a playoff series since you won the Cup in 2014, right? If I remember correctly on this, I don't think the Kings have won a playoff series since they won
first round to Edmonton every year.
Yeah, yeah. So if you're the Kings, if you're taking a return to the Stanley Cup final over what's been, F it, you take it. Right?
Tell me, like all jokes aside, with his Stanley Cup final losses, tell me that's not the kind of guy that gets you that playoff series win, right? He's the difference maker.
Yes,
that can get you past at least one round. So good signing for them. I was wondering whether the Stars would try to run that back one more time and be like, you know what? We're trying to get past the Western Conference final. Maybe Corey Perry is the one who gets us back to the Stanley Cup final at least.
Honestly, I wouldn't have hated it if the Stars did add Perry as a fourth line guy, a net front presence on the power play. Why? Because Perry shows up in big games, just like you were talking about with Granlund. And Perry was a great teammate from everybody that we talked to when he was with Dallas. Everybody said he may be this irritant on the ice, but he's one of the nicest guys off the ice. And that was something that they felt very, very surprised about, maybe because of how much of an antagonist he was with the Ducks for so many years.
Can we real quick just take a second of appreciation for what Casey DeSmith's deal is? Because I see
please do.
Dan Vladar just signed a 2-year deal at a $3.35 million cap hit. Dan Vladar.
Yeah. Good Lord. Well, what about Jake Allen?
Yeah.
The Devils extended him 5 years at 1.8.
That's an LTIR deal waiting to happen, I guess. I don't know on that one. But
5 years for Jake Allen.
Casey's making $1 million
for 2 more years.
Exactly. So let's just, there are moments of, right, like, we can talk about the good and the bad of things, but I think one of the good things that the Stars have done when it comes to how they handled their sticking to that, hey, the Dallas Stars backup goalie job is a job that pays $1 million. Sticking to that mantra at July 1 last year, Scott Wedgwood go and basically telling Casey DeSmith that, hey, this job is a $1 million a year job. It's yours if you want it, but this is what it pays. Sticking to your guns on that has helped out with a lot of other flexibility, because good God, if you're paying $3.35 million to Dan Vladar in the year 2025, it is I don't understand.
Well, and Sean, maybe to that point, that's why they sent why Detroit went out and got John Gibson, because they see the free agent UFA goalie market is not particularly strong right now. Maybe that's why the Devils extended Jake Allen, because when Jacob Markstrom got hurt, Allen was very good. as the starter. So I could see that happening. All right, guys, we have a very large list of a lightning round, and we'll do as much as we can unless something big happens for the Stars between now and then. Next, here on the DLS Stars podcast. But now you get to hear me talk for a couple of minutes because I have a couple of things to say. Let's start with the ball knower bonus, which is back here at DLLS, and we have a new challenge for you. Well, you can win a gift card to the ALLCITY, that's our parent company, merch store, if you make your pick correctly. Here's how it works. First, you pick the winner. Start by picking the winner of the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, which is on July 15th. So you have 2 weeks to make your pick. Then you make a purchase. You browse our store, make a purchase of at least $25 or more. So you get great DLLS, particularly Stars swag, and you get a chance to maybe double it because if your pick wins, you'll win a gift card for the same amount as your original order. That is very, very nice. But the important thing is you must click on our link. It's in the chat and it's also in the show YouTube description. So in doing so, you then bet and get your gift card. So who will win the MLB All-Star Game on July 15th, which is at Truist Park in Atlanta? Well, for all you ball knowers, make your pick, place an order. And if you pick correctly, you're going to get a gift card from us for the same amount as your order. That is the ball knower bonus. And speaking of getting a gift card, well, let's kind of tie that into the DLLS $36 for your first year. Make your move special going on right now. If you've never been a DLS diehard, now is the perfect time to do it. It will never be any cheaper than this. What a great deal. You get a big savings off the first year of your annual subscription. You get a free t-shirt that goes with that. And oh, there's some great t-shirts with the Otter shirt, the Finnish Mafia, Wyatt 16-bit, Mikko Rantanen finisher, the Captain, the Moose. You can get any one of those with your DLS subscription and then buy some more at a discount because you are a DLS diehard. You get 20% off all the merchandise and go for that ball knower bonus. And maybe you can win further merch and a bigger gift card. And of course, with all that being said, you get to help support DLS, all the writing that Sean and Sam do and everybody else, and become a really big supporter of DLS Stars, Cowboys, Mavs, Rangers, Wings, you name it. All right, guys, it's lightning round time. I have all sorts of things to light up here, but Sean, you just can't get over the Dan Vladar contract, so I wanted to give you a second to rant about it if you'd like.
I just don't understand. I don't understand how you look at, even in this goalie market, how you could give $3.35 million to a backup goalie that isn't just a backup goalie, but one that struggled as well. So I don't know if it's for
He's
the
27.
A couple Star Wars nights planned because maybe that's part of the bit.
I'm just thinking about it from a Flyers perspective because they have Fedotov and Urson who are in their 20s already on the cap. So now they have 3 goalies signed for next year.
Yeah, just it doesn't make any sense.
He doesn't know. All right. So let's go back to the big story of last night as we go through our lightning round.
Floored by this one.
Sam, I want to start with you. Mitch Marner signed an 8-year, $12 million AAV contract with the Toronto Maple Leafs and then was traded to the Vegas Golden Knights for Nick Waugh. There was so much swirling around this, including rumors that Toronto, if they didn't agree to a trade with Vegas, might accuse the Golden Knights of tampering. The league might still take a look at all that. And yet, in the end, Vegas gets their guy as Mitch Marner joins Jack Eichel and company. The side to that is Alex Pietrangelo and the team. Vegas announces that he's going to step away, probably won't play at all in the 25-26. And when I say probably, I mean he might not play again. We'll see.
Yep.
I don't want to sound cynical, but the new CBA, which hasn't been officially ratified yet, the new extension wouldn't take effect until the following season, 26-27. So for all of those people excited about some of the new things, and we'll get into those later this week or next week when we have some time, we'll talk about some of the new CBA tidbits. We still have another year of the current rules, including the LTIR rule. And I just couldn't help but think, as soon as I saw the Pietrangelo news, I said, well, of course, Vegas is going to use that to their advantage because it's part of the rules.
Yeah. Vegas, we all know Vegas is become famous for, I don't even know what word to use, whether it's tampering or being sneaky or finding ways to bend the rules. And really, I mean, as far as we know right now, none of it's been illegal. I'm sure
as far as we know.
I'm sure what would have come out if this situation went differently would probably have been. I honestly think that this scared Vegas into making this deal the way it was. I really do. I think that news coming out and reporters, Elliot Friedman and those guys talking about how the Maple Leafs were seriously going to look into it and reporting it. Vegas felt, let's go get this guy for a way that's not going to lead us down a road of getting in the maximum amount of trouble. So in terms of the player, though, it's going to be interesting to see what he does there, because we know his role in Toronto has been, the core four, the skilled guy, the power play guy. That's a stacked team over there in Vegas as well. And, Eichel found his role as their number one center when he came there. I'm curious to see where Marner's going to fit in and what type of player he'll be there, because I think Vegas plays a different style, right? Vegas is a big, heavy defensive team. They make it really hard to go through you. And we know Marner has some defensive skill. He's been talked about in the Selke conversation before. It's going to be interesting to see if he kind of reels back his offense a little bit to focus on that and become maybe a second line guy there that can do both. But for Vegas, it's just another superstar player that they bring into their room. And it's going to be interesting to see if it works out. We've seen plenty of them work out to be incredible, and we've seen plenty of them that just haven't really found their way there. So good ad for them, and a lot of money dealt out for it. But what is it, 12 you said it was where he was at?
12 million AAV, just the same as Mikko Rantanen.
So same as the Stars did with Rantanen, they found a way to get him down from what was being reported upwards of 14. So good deal for them.
Sean, any thoughts on Marner to Vegas, the trade, the Pietrangelo news before we continue our lightning round and go east?
From a hockey nerdy perspective, it makes Vegas really exciting and intriguing to watch. One of the fun things about what Vegas does is when you watch Vegas play, and it'd be interesting to see whether they're playing with Eichel or if not, but one of my favorite things about Eichel's game is Eichel's a right-handed shot down the middle who loves to cut to the left, right? Like you watch Eichel play all the time, and the way he controls the pace, cuts left, goes along the boards, allows his other winger to kind of come take his vacant space. Like Eichel is a very fun tactical player for me to watch. Mitch Marner is a very fun tactical player I like to watch as well. He's a right-handed shot coming down the right side, likes to cut to the middle. His center likes to split out. I'm interested because it's now Eichel is someone who it's been more of a drifting to the left, to the right, but it adds whether Vegas runs with that on their own two lines. If they do them separate lines, all of a sudden it's two different approaches, and might make Vegas better because all of a sudden you have Marner and Eichel play in similar ways, and so it's easier for you to shuffle your top six around a little bit more and get guys a little bit more comfortable, since both guys maybe come from different areas but different perspectives, or you have them play together, and there's a lot of fun ways of space manipulation you watch play out. Just so from a pure hockey nerdum perspective, like I love this move, just being able to watch how Vegas attacks the offensive zone, because yes, they are this hard charging team, but they are very much built like a chess team. Like they are very much built like a chessboard. You have some brutes, you have some pawns that really aren't meant to do more than go two spaces forwards and batter things, and then that opens up the space for your bishops and knights to shift in and out. And I think this makes them a very interesting team. The other thing that just for me, from a biggest perspective, is I get that it's easy for people to get, especially in Dallas, it's easy because it's the closest thing the Stars have had to a rival. It's easy to get angry at what Vegas has done, but Vegas won a Stanley Cup the same way the Lightning did before them, the same way the Chicago Blackhawks did when they won their dynasty. And so I'm very close to Vegas tampering or doing whatever. I think Vegas plays by the rules. It's just they're just better at playing by the rules than a lot of other teams. Yeah. If you are a team complaining about what Vegas does, make your capologist be better. Make your internal staff be better, right? Like it's, to me, that's what Vegas is. Florida does the exact same thing. So I get it where it's like, oh, we win championships the right way or whatever. I don't care whether you win or lose the right way. If it's legal, buy the book. It's in the book.
Yep.
So do that, right? Like if we're playing a board game or whatever at home, you're gonna find every single way to screw your buddy over and do it, right? So why can't if you're following the rules, and Vegas is, every team does it, and so get better at it yourself. That's always been my message to other teams, and the Stars got better at it this year, right? They used it to have the space to make some deadline acquisitions they wouldn't have had. They learned a little bit. You know what? If I'm the Stars and Tyler Seguin's hip is feeling a bit off on February 15th, I wouldn't mind putting him in for a 2-month little hiatus there to be able to go and add Chris Tanev back at the deadline. I'm joking that Chris Tanev will be available, but you get what my point is. So get better at it yourself. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. And then until they close the holes,
it's not even cheating.
Use the loopholes. Yeah.
It's legal as long as you aren't being investigated by the league for suspiciously not having a player injured. The injury has to be legit because there's been some conversation about Edmonton and Evander Kane that have been out there. But as far as if you have legitimate injuries, but the timing is a bit suspicious when you see a player perfectly okay for game 1 of the playoffs. In game 82, they couldn't play. So lots going on, guys.
Or you do it. You do what Edmonton did. You just scratch him for game 1,
right,
of the playoffs. He wasn't ready for game 1.
And Tyler played game 82, by the way, so that made it look more legit. Hey, going east, Connor Brown going to the New Jersey Devils for 4 years, $3 million AAV. Vladislav Gavrikov, big money deal, going to the New York Rangers. Sean, was that 7 for 7? Was that I saw you
7 for Gavrikov? Yeah, Gavrikov's a good player, but that's a lot.
Elliot Friedman saying
numbers are going up.
The Rangers are now working on sending Keandre Miller to Carolina. Well, I would imagine that is a waterfall effect of the Gavrikov signing with the Rangers, but that is a huge deal. And speaking of huge deals, since I got both you guys looking down,
Yep.
Evan Bouchard yesterday extended his contract 4 years, $10.5 million. Ivan Provorov signed a big money deal. Where is it? It's on my list here somewhere. There it is. 7 by $8.5 million. As I saw these, Martin Faravari with the Capitals, 7 years, $6 million. Boy, Thomas Harley's going to get some pay as he continues to play well for the Dallas Stars. Is he not?
Can we? He is. Can we talk about one of the other deals from that happened, I guess technically today and I'm curious, Sam, because I know you've talked to Logan Stankoven a little more recently.
Talk about Logan Stankoven.
Do we think, I don't know why he took this deal. I get I get 8 years of term and everything, but
this reminds me of John Klingberg's contract.
Yeah. So Sam, I'll throw it to you. Do you think this is also Logan Stankoven thinking, hey, that 8th year, I can't get an 8-year deal in 2 years when the cap goes up, when the CBA goes into effect. So I'll take the job security, because this is that's a steal of a contract for Carolina long-term on that Stankoven deal. And I don't understand why the player took it.
Yeah, I do. I 100% do. I mean, talking to Logan, this trade, we've broken it down. He's been on the show. Yeah. This trade really affected him. I mean, he believed not this because I'm in California, but he believed Dallas was his home for a very long time, and he was going to grow into a franchise player there. So I think for him taking that extra year of security, he not only loves Carolina, and he did almost immediately, but the Carolina Hurricanes have shown over and over and over again that they love him. So while you're right, it is a bargain deal. I think that knowing he could sign there for 8 years, be there in a team that he believes in and is really valued in. I mean, really, really valued in. I think that's important to him as a player. But I was surprised because it was 6, right? 6 AAV. So yeah, I mean, that's a great deal for a guy who realistically, especially for that team, is a top 6, if not even a top line option for them for now 8 years. I really think the player himself personally, security over money was the biggest thing for him. And I think that would have been the case anyway, but specifically the case because of what the trade did and how much it just kind of shocked his system and changed his outlook on his future.
We are running out of time, and we didn't even talk about Bill Zito and the Florida Panthers. So Sean, in your best 50, 60 seconds, Sam Bennett, Brad Marchand, Aaron Ekblad, Thomas Nosek, all re-signed to keep the band together. What a job. And what a will by the players to make this happen, not just the general manager.
Do they have to win how many cups do you have to win in a 5-year span to be considered a dynasty? That's how I sum that up, because
3.
They are
a
one.
dynasty is 3.
I
2 is not a dynasty.
2 is not a dynasty. 2 is not. It's 3.
I would say 3 in a 10-year period is a dynasty, not just 5.
Any reason to believe they're not going to win this one?
I know. My point,
dynasty.
Sam, is with what Florida did today. I'm not saying they're going to three-peat. I'm not going to say that. But if you told me Florida winning one of the next 3 cups versus not, I would take Florida winning one of the next 3 cups. I don't know if it'll be next year where they'll three-peat, but I have a hard time believing they will not win one of the next 3 cups.
Agreed.
All right, guys.
Good team.
To sign it all off here, we've got Tanner Jeannot, 5 years, $3.4 million with the Boston Bruins.
How does he keep getting away with this?
Boston's just throwing money around, and they're light on forwards, and there you go.
Yeah, we have Ardell says he bets Owen's house that the Panthers will not three-peat. So there you go, Owen. Your house is now on the market.
Yeah, he took that from a longtime Spurs radio joke.
I will bet Owen's house that Tanner Jeannot continues to get big deals somehow.
Let's talk about wanting him. He thought about him as a tough winger. Well, Stars get their head coach. Glenn Gulletson is here. The Stars re-sign Colin Blackwell. They will not re-sign Matej Blumel, who signed as a free agent with Boston. There are still moves to be made. We will be back here tomorrow. At least Sam and I will be. I don't think Sean's scheduled for tomorrow's show. It's 1:00 Central Time. Where's Luds? We have no idea.
Alive.
Is he?
He's alive. He's texting me, so he's alive.
Okay, so we've confirmed that he's alive. That's good. Yeah. So a zero Luds show. That doesn't happen very often. Guys, enjoy the rest of free agency day. I hope there's some fun news to talk about tomorrow, but I hope there's not an emergency pod this afternoon. So for Elijah, for Sam, for Sean, I'm Owen. Thanks for joining us here on Free Agency Day.
We all silly like the mayor.